I was supposed to run 10 miles at marathon pace. By mile 8, I was completely falling apart. 9:25 on the watch, ragged breathing, legs full of sand, the sub 4 hour marathon dream dead. That's what it felt like. But I was wrong. That spectacular failure, that disaster of a training run, is the single reason I will cross the line in 3 hours 58 minutes. And if you're chasing a big race day goal, what I learned from blowing up at mile 8 might be the most useful thing you hear. Here's what happened. I just run a 1:55 half marathon. The calculator said sub 4 was possible. So I scheduled the workout, 10 miles at 9:09 pace. Straightforward to test on paper. I started feeling fantastic. Mile 1, 9:01. Mile 2, 9:03. Banking seconds, feeling smooth. Convinced I was having one of those days. And that right there was the trap. You feel so good at the start, you convince yourself you're banking time. But pacing isn't a savings account. Those early seconds aren't an investment, they're a loan. What a brutal with a brutal interest that comes due way too early. And I was about to find out exactly how brutal. About mile 4, the effortless feeling evaporated. I could still hold pace, but now I had to think about it. By mile 5, 9:09 felt like work. By mile 7, the wheels wobbled. Internal monologue switched from "you got this" to "just hold on." Watched buzz at 9:15. Then mile 8, the breaking point, 9:25 on the watch, and that 9:25 felt harder than the 9:05 at the start. I limped through the last 2 miles, head a mess of disappointment. I finished the 10 miles, but I had failed the test. And as I stood there gasping, one thought crushed me. How could I possibly hold this pace for 26.2 miles if I couldn't hold it for 10? Once the frustration cooled, I stopped seeing a disaster and started seeing data. The most brutally honest data I'd ever collected. First, my pacing was a mess. Those banked seconds weren't help, they were theft. Theft from my future self. I learned that for me, a winning strategy wasn't about hanging on, it was about finishing strong. And that meant starting deliberately slower. Second, I'd skipped fueling practice entirely. This was supposed to be a marathon simulation. I ran it like any easy 10 miler, no gels, no fueling strategy, just ran out of energy and missed the chance to train my gut for race day. I went to know, have you ever skipped fueling on long runs and paid for it later? Drop it in the comments because I can't be the only one. Third, and this was the big one. That run taught me what marathon pace shouldn't feel like. It shouldn't be a gut busting fight at mile 7. It should be, as coaches say, comfortably hard. Trying to run 9:09 for like an all out 10K. That was a clear, undeniable signal that my fitness or my strategy or both wasn't right for sustaining that pace. Armed with this data, I rebuilt everything. Pacing, I ripped up the old plan. The new goal wasn't 9:09 from the gun, it was 9:20 to 9:25 for the first 10K. Deliberately conservative. Save energy, settle in, only push after mile 20 if I genuinely felt strong. Fueling, non negotiable on every long run. Tested gels, timings, flavors until I found what worked at, at gel every 45 minutes, like clockwork. Practice with water stations. By race day, fueling was automatic. Mindset, the fail test, taught me what the edge of blow up feels like. The breathing, change the heavy legs, the mental games on race day. If I felt those warning signs, I wouldn't panic. I'd ease back, reset, and prevent a small fade from becoming a catastrophic wall. If this story is giving you something useful for your own training, it would mean a lot if you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm documenting this whole journey, the failures, the wins, and I'd love to have you along. Race day, nervous, but I had a plan. forged into failure. The gun went off. Hundreds sprinted past me. Every ounce of discipline I had went into holding back. 9:25 pace, while adrenaline screamed, go faster, but I trusted the data. Halfway point, controlled, comfortable. Mile 18, where people start cracking. I felt strong. Mile 22, I started passing people who'd flown by me in the first few miles. Then the final 10K, the data in my legs whispered. I had enough left. Pace dropped to 9:10, then 9:05, then under 9 for the final mile. 3 hours, 58 minutes, and 12 seconds. Standing there with the medal, I thought back to that miserable 10-mile run. The disappointment I felt that day was nothing compared to the gratitude I feel now. That failure wasn't an obstacle, it was the whole path. It, it stripped away the ego and replaced it with strategy. So if you're chasing a big goal, don't be afraid to test yourself and don't be afraid to fail because sometimes a spectacular failure is the most powerful tool you have. Sometimes the timing that feels like the end of your dream is exactly what makes it possible. I'd love to know what's the workout or race that you taught you a lesson you never forget. Share it in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.